So I'm down $83,000 on GameStop. Let's take a look. It hurts, but that's okay. I'm gonna tell you why and more. Today we're gonna be talking about GameStop, how the media has been handling GameStop, bunch of short squeeze information. What is a ladder attack? I've been hearing a little bit about that on the internet. What are counterfeit shares? And a bunch of other stuff. So buckle in. This video is going to be a good one. If you're new here, one of the best things that you can actually invest in is this channel. While it's still small, while it is still undervalued, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Please, again, if you skipped over that last part, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, help a brother out. I greatly appreciate it. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and you could be the next one. I promise you it'll be worth it. Now let's jump into the video. First on the agenda are my heavy losses. Really just scrolling up at the top of my account here, you can see that I have a total account value of $276,000. I am down $100,000 on the week. If we look at my 1 month chart right now, you can see that I am up $265,000 overall. So my account value is a little wonky because I have taken some money out after my initial gains. All of my money is not tied up into GameStop anymore. I made a ton of money on some initial call options. I actually got in before the frenzy, so I had some impeccable timing. Then I took some of those gains, reinvested those into shares, and those are the shares that are down now. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at those shares. Yeah, so it looks like I have $17,230 of total equity in GameStop right now across 350 shares. You can see that I have an average cost of $287, and the current share price is $49.23. So I got beat the fuck up, guys. Got absolutely annihilated on GameStop right now. But how do I feel about that? Am I actually upset? No, I am not. One, because I'm already up a ton of money. One of the things that you have to be when you're a long-term investor is you have to stick to your thesis unless something changes. And I know that the GameStop frenzy has been pretty crazy, but here are my thoughts on it so far. One, there has been an exceptional, I'm actually going to talk about this in a moment, an exceptional push in the media coordinated to really shake out retail investors, in addition to everything that Robinhood has done with restricting trading, etc., to basically stop this possible short squeeze. If you're holding shares, there's nothing that requires you to actually sell at a loss. You can hold shares indefinitely, and I actually hate that people are selling at a loss and really locking in those losses. One of the things that unless you've bought on margin, there really is no time limit on shares. Now, the caveat there is that if all of your equity is tied up into this position, you're gonna lose that on the near term. You're not gonna be able to invest that money into other places that might make you 10, 20, 30%, or maybe even double. You know, I might be able to double this $17,000 here, but I'm not really interested in it. I'm gonna go ahead and actually let's just jump back to the rest of my account. If we look at the rest of my account, you can see I have a few other plays here. I have 2,100 shares of Sundial, 30,000 shares of Check Cap. At the moment, I think that is a great long-term play. I'm bullish on it. I'd say it's very risky for sure, but if that hits $10, that'll be 300 grand right there. Nokia, I own about 1,000 shares. So in general, I'm a mid to long-term investor. I take some really high-risk, long-term bets. That's the way that I like to play my account. My goal in this account, I have a retirement account, right? So anybody who's watching this and thinking, Forrest, you're crazy, I have a retirement account. Things doing fine. The whole point of my Robinhood account is to make out like a fucking bandit, right? I'm trying to get paid. I'm trying to make money, print money. That's the whole point of this, print money. I think I'm gonna get a hoodie that says print money. Then maybe like just kidding under it so people don't think I'm like counterfeiting money. But that's the whole point of this, right? Ultimately, I want you to make some money too, but you just need to understand, the games that you're playing and, what are the pieces that you're bringing to the table in each game that you're playing. So I'll go ahead and close this. So really the next thing on the docket is talking about a short ladder attack, or really just market manipulation in general. The idea of a short ladder attack is basically that you have two hedge funds that open and close short positions between each other to drive the price of an equity down. And one of the ways that people try to show this is by showing a bunch of matching, orders in batches of 100. Now the thing is that it's not necessarily mean that there is a ladder attack. Is there market manipulation happening? Almost for sure. Is it possible for there to be a ladder attack? I think it is possible, but people are on the fence of whether they're real or not. Here's what I do know. People will do anything that they can get away with, especially if it's not illegal, or if the legal process is so lagging behind, or if the outcome of any legal process is simply a fine, they'll just do the math, then they will definitely do it. So in terms of whether a hedge fund would be, I'd say ballsy enough to attempt to manipulate something like this, 100% they would. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars at stake, and we already know that in America at least, the fines for financial crimes are, at most in the millions of dollars and maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, which again, when compared to billions of dollars at risk, really is just it's the cost of doing business. So a short ladder attack, again, just to double down on this, is firm A basically says, I'm going to sell or open a short position. Let's just say sell, to keep it super simple. The idea is to drive the price down. So they're going to say, I'm going to sell 100 shares at $99. And then firm B will go ahead and buy those shares at $99, and then maybe they'll go back and sell them at $98 and then sell them back to firm A, and they just keep trading shares back and forth to drive the price down. And really the idea there is to force the spread on the bid ask down on both sides. This isn't easy to do. It requires obviously holding a ton of shares, having a massive amount of capital, and doing that on something that is low float, such as GameStop. Counterfeiting shares. So how do you counterfeit shares, or what is a way that somebody might counterfeit shares? There is a talk on the internet, on the interwebs, Wall Street bets, that people allegedly are counterfeiting shares. So what is one of the ways that you can create fake shares? And from what I understand, this is possibly pretty easy to do because everything's electronic and because everything is happening at such a high frequency and because people aren't exactly organized. You essentially could have people selling things that they, one, don't own or don't exist yet. So that's one way. Basically, I would just call that an accounting error of people creating things that don't exist. The other way that you could do this is imagine that there's a company that has 100 shares outstanding. And if company A says, I'm going to short 100 shares, but I'm going to borrow these shares. So now there's 100 shares that company A essentially is shorting. And then let's just say that company B also wants to short this and they borrow 100 shares. So now you have 200 shares short on a company that only has 100 shares outstanding. Now these aren't necessarily counterfeit in a sense, but really what has happened is that the lending entity has lent out more shares than actually exist, right? They are creating shares. The problem with this is now that the market, when the market looks at trading on this entity, they're going to see these 200 shares short on this asset. Now, if imagine we use different numbers and it's not something as crazy as 200, maybe let's just say they invent 7 fake shares or they counterfeit 7 shares. You still see the problem here is essentially they can just get away with doing this because all of this stuff is electronic and it's, debt instruments more or less, but you essentially are creating and borrowing on entities that don't exist. And those are just some of the few ways that you could ultimately counterfeit shares. Robinhood, and their CEO, Vlad. Let me tell you the story of a CEO who just could not get his story straight. The craziest part about all this GameStop stuff is that all this has happened in the open. There are people giving interviews on live television and then changing their story from interview to interview, and for some reason just going about it as if the stuff that they just said didn't just happen. So in a matter of days, he basically said on one interview that no, Robinhood did not have a capitalization issue. Basically, they had money. In another interview saying that yes, they actually did have a capitalization problem because their clearinghouse, basically the broker's broker, did a capital call on them, or think of it as a margin call almost, and said, hey, you need to put up X amount of money due to the things that are happening in your business today. Those things are at odds with each other. Both cannot be true. Either you are out of money and aren't meeting your capital requirements, or that's not the case, right? It's one or the other. The thing there, and I think before we even talk about restricting trading, which is the really big thing, is this is a CEO of a company that is planning to IPO who said one thing one day and then another thing the next day. He could have just told the truth out front at first. They were able to raise money regardless. So obviously, you know, their VCs, their capital partners, etc., weren't going to let them fail because of this. So it doesn't really make sense for him to lie unless there's something else at stake, and he's spending so much time thinking about how to get his story straight, which is why he can't tell the truth. Telling the truth requires zero mental gymnastics, guys. If you're young, if you haven't lived in the corporate world or just been out in the environment, I'm telling you, it's so easy to tell when people are BSing. It is so easy to tell when people are BSing. Telling the truth, no matter how bad it is, it just takes no mental gymnastics. It's just easy. Here's what's happened, and then you don't have to remember what you said, because what you said was true, and then all you have to do is recall the truth every time. The reason this guy can't get his story straight is because he's making it up and trying to think about how it might all connect later if he says this and this and that, right? He's lying, essentially, is what I'm saying. Again, this is just my opinion. I think he's not telling the truth. Restricting the shares. So this was massive. This actually affected the price of GameStop, and let me tell you why. Right, so one, there's just the ethical position of that you're supposed to be a broker. You're just simply an intermediary that facilitates me doing whatever I want with my money, right? You do not get to assess my risk levels. You don't get to help me or really change my decision-making process, right? There's a set of rules. If I have $10, I get to invest, spend, or do whatever I want with those $10, and I can risk them as I please. A broker they're not a financial advisor. It is not their job to say, I mean, they could put up disclaimers and things like that. They can show me raw underlying fundamentals or, you know, numerics that go with, you know, volatility is a great example. Like, it's showing me what the volatility is. But outside of that, you don't get to stop me. Really what Vlad tried to say was that he was protecting his users by restricting them from buying things that were exceptionally volatile. And here's the whole problem with that. One, the idea of a free market. That you cannot make money in a free market if you can't only do one side of the transaction, right? I can't have a great sell unless I can have a great buy. All of your money is made on the buy. The idea that like it's okay because they let people exit their positions when you've alleviated or reduced one entire side of the market makes no sense. So let me make an example for anybody who doesn't necessarily get how supply and demand works. So imagine that you own a house and you're in a town where a lot of people own houses and they're selling houses, and there's a lot of people who are, you know, buying houses in that town. You want to list your house. Now, right before you list your house, the mayor of your town says, hey, no one local in this town or really in this state can buy houses here anymore. So all of the people who know and understand this area no longer want to buy your house. Now, the mayor also says, but don't worry, these foreign investors, these people out of state with big pockets, they can still buy. We're going to let them buy your house and the other houses in this town. It's just the people local to here and everyone in the state that can't buy. What do you think is going to happen? What is going to happen is prices are going to be depressed. When you reduce demand, prices reduced at every level of supply, right? This is just basic like Econ 101. Go watch an Econ Academy video or something somewhere. But that's why I'm using the analogy. When you remove buy-side pressure, prices go down. They do, which is what we saw. As soon as they stopped people from being able to buy shares, demand went down, and so prices started crashing. Now, it's not to say that all of the demand was from Robinhood, right? There's still some demand, but a huge amount of demand evaporated, and enough so that the price would crash. Going back to a root idea of a free market, right? It does not matter. Vlad, this whole position of him protecting their users, that's stupid. One, the app is named Robinhood. Like, let people do what they want. Let them speculate. Speculation is a huge part of a free market. Whether you're doing long-term investing, if you want to treat it like a casino, that is up to the end user. I don't think anybody who signs up to play in the stock market is asking for their hand to be held, right? Unless you're throwing your money into a 401k. If you have a brokerage account, you basically are saying, hey, I'm buying this more or less because I want the right to sell it later at some increased price. That's the whole point. That's exactly what hedge funds are doing. I mean, look at the other side of it, and this whole argument goes out into the freaking trash can, right? These hedge funds were literally shorting a company, right? They were shorting it, putting out these hit pieces or news articles to realize the gains on that short, or basically get the price to go down so that those shorts would essentially manifest to become true, so that they can make some money on that speculation. That's all it is. It's just people making money on speculation. That is the stock market, 99%. Which brings me to my next point, the media. The media has put a huge target on Wall Street. So the media has put a huge target on Wall Street bets back, really trying to paint them out to be something more than just a literal message board of a bunch of anonymous users. Now, I don't know if you've been alive ever, but getting people that you know and can physically meet with to organize to do anything is really, really hard. Getting a community of anonymous people who literally revel in losing money and doing crazy inside bets to all band together to do something is literally impossible. What actually has happened is that a lot of people decided to do the same thing at one time because the opportunity was so obvious. That's all it is, right? It's like if money was falling from the sky and everybody started putting their hands up to catch money as it was falling down, and then somebody going like, oh, there's some weird manipulation coordinated effort going down. It's like, no, everybody just has eyes. That's really what happened with Wall Street bets. But obviously, there's a very obvious concerted effort in the media. If you look at the things that they're saying and then the things that are actually happening in Wall Street bets, and what's craziest about this is that anybody can do this research very, very easily just by opening Google and going to the subreddit. You know that 99% of the stuff that they're saying is bullshit. And really, they're just out to protect these hedge funds. And I imagine that these hedge funds are funding a lot of these pieces. Most of these journalists, analysts, etc., are really just shills. There's not much merit to what they have to say. And honestly, the biggest takeaway that I've had from some of these sources who I thought were at least had some credibility is that ultimately they just don't have much credibility at all. Really, the only thing that you can accept as fact are just the raw fundamentals in terms of revenues, outputs of the company. But all of these, investing opinion articles are nothing more than opinion, or as we saw in the last week, a ton of just outright lies because people are trying to get the sentiment to move in some direction so that people can realize the gains on their short or call bullish positions, right? That's really all it is. I'm not saying that I trusted the media before. It's just honestly pretty crazy. It's very rarely that you get to see something that you can validate so quickly, right? For someone to put out an article saying that X is Y, and then you can literally just look at X and see that it isn't Y, like everybody can in real time, but then the article just sits out there. It takes zero effort for the person who wrote the article even knows that, and it's just, we all just know it's a lie, but there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely blows my mind. But hey, this is America in 2021. What do I think is going to happen next? Don't know. I think honestly it's a holding game, and that brings me to the next part of my video, which is, so I'm not anti-hedge fund. I imagine in another life that I actually run a hedge fund. I love finance, I love investing, I love the mechanics of money, compound interest. I love speculation. I'm very entrepreneurial. My day job is in sales. I really like making money. Nothing actually consistently makes me happy than seeing dollars go into my bank account. Really just playing the game of trying to make money is really what it comes down to. Making money to me is just like any other video game, and I'm just trying to get a high score, right? So I'm not anti-hedge fund by any means, but I am a very grounded individual, and I definitely want to live in a world or a society where your return on effort can actually be realized because the game is not rigged, right? If you're someone who has, nothing given to you, right? You start with $1,000 and you see some, due to nothing but your own, mental acuity, intelligence, whatever, genius, an ability to turn that $1,000 into 10, and then you do that again, you should be able to do that. And people, who already have money, right, it should not be stopping people from doing that. One of the things that I know is that money is not a zero-sum game, right? Other people need to make less money for me to make more money. If you're not familiar with how governments work, we literally print so much money all the time, and there's nothing wrong. Like, if somebody else makes a ton of money, it doesn't mean I'm making less money. by any means. That's just not how it works. But the reason that I'm holding is really because of this movement, and I'm totally down for the cause. I think that, you know, bad hedge funds or bad actors, people who are out to, you know, make gains at other people's expense, I don't really like that. You know, I don't fuck with that. I think that's not the way that I like to make money. I think ultimately you can be in a win-win situation, right? If I'm somebody who sells a service, it's a high value service, and that service directly impacts the customer's life in a positive way, that's a win-win, you know, transaction. That's the way that business, investing, etc. should work. If I invest in a company and I give them capital and they use that capital to grow the business and employ people, all right, and then those goods and services are then bought by people, like, that's a very positive cycle. Really what we're seeing here are hedge funds who are out to basically say, hey, you are messing up our speculation, and our speculation directly affects businesses' ability to stay in business, right? So they're doing some adverse speculation, and some people who are out to basically defend those businesses or stop that, and now they're using all that power basically to crush the small guy. So I'm all for the cause. I'm holding. I'm down 80 something grand like you saw earlier. Don't care, it's just money. I'll make more. I'm really good at it. But I'm just holding my shares long term. I think it'll bounce back up, and maybe I'll exit my position in a few months or something, a few weeks. But honestly, I'm not sweating it. I'll probably sell out some other things, move some stuff around, but it's just really, it's not a big deal for me. I'm glad, I'm lucky I'm in this situation, but I'm all for the cause. So I want GameStop to hit $1,000, but I'm also down for the cause. So I'm in it. If you're in at around 300 like I am, keep on holding. I appreciate you. It's gonna go back up. So last and not least, how to make money with this information. First and foremost, if you missed the earlier one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It is one of the smartest investments you can make. If you want to increase the ROI on that investment, then hit the like button. Love you, appreciate you. Step 2, understand the risk profile with your investments. If you are into swing trading or trading options or any type of, I'd say, near-term speculative investments, then you need to understand that any of those can go to zero, and sometimes they will. I lose money. I don't always show my losses. I promise you I have them. I just showed you $80,000. But even in my gains before this, I had losses. They're just not as fun to talk about, but you have to learn from them. I'll continue to share my losses, the ones that are more meaningful. I have a ton of small losses, like all the time, which really aren't that interesting, but maybe I'll start showing those to show that, you know, you're not always winning all the time. I'm not a genius, I'm not a guru. I just need my outsized wins to be bigger than my small, you know, continual losses or the times that I'm wrong. You just gotta win more than you lose, and that's really all it takes. And once you have a big enough of a snowball, it literally will just continue to grow itself. So making money, step 1 is look long. Look long. Even when you speculate, look long. A good business will survive any volatility. Long term, it definitely will. Step 2, understand risk and reward profile. And step 3 is just be patient.